Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the legendary Anubis and Ra.
There's no one here, Ra. It's just us.
Have you forgotten where we are? What kind of crazy, dope magic happens in this city every day?
You know, in this film, we're getting to hear from 27 different poets, and I feel like we can connect with all of their stories, but I was wondering, whose story did you guys personally connect with the most and why?
That is a good question. I don't even know that I can answer it. I think there's so many of these poets that I connect with for different reasons, and I think maybe my non-answer is an answer because I think that's what makes Summertime so special, that you're not following one story, you're not following one perspective, you're really following a collective and sort of like a community as they let you into their lives. They just give you like a little tiny glimpse of what their life in LA is like. And then you sort of like see this mosaic of lots of little pieces of these stories, and you can I think there's a lot of ways to interpret the movie, and there's a lot of ways to connect with it. So what I love the most is that aspect of it. I don't know if Kelly, you have an actual favorite. No,
I can't choose a favorite. I think I'm too involved.
Yeah.
I've fallen in love with all of them. I agree. I think that something that's really special about Summertime is the idea that we all have our stories, you know, and we're all existing in the world, and we all have our voices and our experiences, and we're all seeing the world through our specific lenses, and it really shows us that. Like, it's not just I think a lot of times when I think about historically the types of stories that we've seen in movies, you know, you're always seeing from a very specific perspective, and then you have the barista, and then you have these sort of minor characters. But with Summertime, you really have a sort of vignette of all of these incredible artists and their lives. And I think it is an example of, at least for me as a viewer, reminding yourself that we are all human beings, and we all have our perspectives and our experiences and our trauma, and they are all equally important, and we all deserve to be heard, especially, you know, a lot of the artists in this film are from communities that have historically been ignored, and I think it's important to highlight those stories. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it encourages these young adults to express themselves and their relationships with their city. And I was wondering, if you guys had to express yourself and your relationship with your home city, where would your spoken word take place, and what would it be about?
You ask a very great question, and I'll tell you why. I mean, it's a great question, but I think it's specifically meaningful to us because we just went through a spoken poetry boot camp that the poets taught for Kelly and I to understand the process. And the prompt of the camp was like, if your heart were a city, what kind of city would it be? And essentially encouraging us to explore our relationship to the concept of home. Both Kelly and I wrote a poem exploring this very same question that you're asking. So it's fresh in our minds, and Kelly can speak for her own very relationship with that concept. But I would say for me, it's complicated. Like many of the poets in the movie, I was born in Mexico City, and I lived there until I was 12. Then I came to the States. I've been living in a bunch of different cities here. And when someone asks me, like, what is home to you? I don't really have one clear answer. And, I am an immigrant in this country. I've learned this culture, like, later the second half of my life. So I have a very complicated relationship with the idea of home. And I think what's, to me, so beautiful about Summertime is this idea that there really is no, like, you get to create what your reality is, what your home is, what your voice is like. So that's my complicated answer. I don't know. And I think probably, Kelly, you and I have somewhat similar perspectives with that, right?
I think when we were given this prompt in our poetry camp, I wrote a poem about not the home that I came from, but the one that I wish that I came from, the one that I wish the world was like. And I think that summertime is such a beautiful example of what the world could be like if people were given space to really process things and really have their voices be heard. You have these sort of moments of elevated reality where I know we've all, don't want to speak for everyone. I have experienced moments where someone has, said things to me, not specifically on a bus, but maybe on a bus, but to see Mila be able to then speak with these beautiful, incredible words, like to live in a world where every time someone addresses you with some injustice, you have this beautifully written poetry that comes out of your mouth and is the exact way that you would want to address that is the world that I want to live in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that if summertime were a place, I would love to hang out there and exist there.
At least for me, I was definitely thinking like, God, where would I want to be? Like, I can't speak as well as these people did, but as far as just being able to open up my like emotions and just speak so eloquently, I don't know. I'm like, where would I want to be? Where would I really want to speak out?
Yeah. And also, like, can we just imagine that for a second? Like, imagine you're in a work situation and someone says something offensive to you, and you just have this beautiful poem that you're ready to like drop. It's just like, I wish that's how it was.
I do too. I can't. I'm one of those people that I shut down, and then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, I should have said this.
Okay, same. Because we all, I think, I don't want to speak for you, but I will say I absolutely agree where I grew up in a society that taught me to be silent. And when someone said something to me, to immediately think that it's my fault and that there's something wrong with me. And it's not the other person that's making me feel a certain way. And you see these incredible young artists be so articulate and so intentional and to be able to really process the world that they grew up in and their experiences. And it's like absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Susan, I relate. I wish I could speak as well as they did.
I can relate exactly on what you said too, because I grew up in that same kind of, be quiet and just, it would be my fault kind of thing. So I understand. And that's why this movie it really does hit home in a lot of ways. And another thing that is so great about it is the diverse cast, because it's just so many people can feel represented from just seeing all these talented artists, like you said. Why was it important to showcase these specific talents?
I think what's so special about this community of poets is that so I met them through this nonprofit organization from Los Angeles. They're called Get Lit Words Ignite. And what Get Lit does is it uses spoken word to promote literacy and gets high school students excited about literature. So they teach this curriculum in English classes throughout LA. And then people from these schools come into the program to do like after school works, and they do tours and workshops. And because the program really reaches all neighborhoods of LA, the makeup of this group of poets is really incredibly diverse. There's people here from all the way east, all the way west, deep in the valley, way south, and everywhere in between. So when we came up with this idea to do the movie, and we were looking at the group of poets that would represent this community, the makeup of it was just so beautifully rich and complex. And it's not like we sat down and we said like, hey, let's make sure we have this kind of person from this group, or let's make sure that we have this. It really was just in the DNA of this group of people. So we really are getting just to highlight it and just to celebrate it. But it, I don't know, to me, it shows how arts and how poetry can really bring people from all walks of life and all different cultural backgrounds together. And that to me is really exciting.
I have to say, now I really love a good cheeseburger. This movie made me want one so badly, but I could feel for Tyrus when he was on a mission. But when he does get to Smiley Burger, you also see how for some of these characters a burger can taste like home. And I was just wondering, is there a food for you guys that every time you eat it, it brings you back home or really comforts you?
Pastor tacos for me. There's just no way to have that experience and not be taken back to a very special place.
You said you were going to take me there, but you didn't.
I,
Farm you out on this public forum. I'm just kidding.
I will.
Yeah, for me, it's any, good Vietnamese food. Pho is so good. Bun bao is my favorite. Banh mi is good. Yeah, all of that stuff. You can't taste it without thinking of your family and all of those layers.
Kelly, I know you were quoted saying that watching Summertime was like falling in love for the first time for you. I'm wondering, what do you hope audiences feel when they first watch this movie?
I hope that people feel seen and known and heard and understood in a way that I didn't know I needed to feel when I watched it.
Carlos, is there something you hope they feel?
Empathy. I think that's what Meeting the Poets did for me, and this like radical empathy that they operate under that opened me to all sorts of really magical experiences, and the process of doing Summertime has really just been me trying to capture that experience that I had. So if I'm able to sort of like pass a little tiny bit of it to people who may see it, I think it could be really important. I think that these artists' voices are the types of voices that can make the world a better place, and I just hope to be able to support them as much as I humanly can.
$15 to get me a new outfit from the 4-star veteran thrift store down the street. I can make chicken Alfredo for dinner for around $14.70. Purchase shampoo, conditioner, and a leave-in from Marshall's at around $13.40. Lift home for $6.89. Climb into my night clothes, flop on my bed, open on my laptop, log on to Yelp, and write how ridiculous these prices are!
Ooh. Take a little bit, babe.
Look, it's me.
Maybe we're not even depressed. Maybe we just hungry.